Chronicles cassettes. Gosh, I miss those times, man.
Alright lads, before we get on to the video, I just want to say I'm sorry for not uploading too much over Christmas. I've been a little bit down this holiday season, not too sure why, but hey ho. But for our first War Thunder content of the year, we're going to piss off the Frenchies again. Yes, today we're covering the Leclerc S21, or SXXI, not sure which one it is. Anyway, last time I think I said Leclerc, so now I'm going to say Leclerc. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, but as an Englishman, there's basically nothing I can do to please the French, so we're just going to have to live with it, boys. But anyway, the Leclerc S21 is a rank 7 battle rating 11.0 main battle tank, located in the French tech tree. To unlock this monster, you're going to have to grind out 400,000 research points, before breaking your bank by purchasing it for the cost of 1,080,000 silver lions. Unlike a lot of other top tier main battle tanks, it has a fairly low repair cost, at 8,600 silver lions, with a fully upgraded tank. To put the vehicle in your lineup, it's going to cost you 310,000 silver lions. Seeing as this is a top tier vehicle and you're going to be playing against, in theory, the best players War Thunder has to offer, I'd highly recommend getting the Expert and Age qualifications, costing 1,080,000 silver lions for the Expert and 2,200 Golden Eagles for the Ace qualification. Moving on to the rewards, and with a premium account and playing realistic battles, you can expect an RP modifier of 488% and a silver line modifier of 210%. In terms of customization, you have several camouflages available for Golden Eagles, as well as a single camouflage found on the Gaijin marketplace. So lads, with the Leclerc S21 now being the third Leclerc in game, is it worth grinding? All three of these tanks are battle rating 11.0 and don't have really anything unique about them. So is the Leclerc S21 a star in the French tech tree, or just more boring filler? Stick around for the rest of the video to find out. When it comes to the mobility, the Leclerc S21 is powered by the same engine as found in the other Leclerc S2 series, a 1,475 horsepower engine. This engine, combined with the vehicle's weight of 56.2 tonnes, gives the tank a power to weight ratio of 26.2 horsepower per tonne. This is quite good for a main battle tank, but not the best in game. Like the Type 10 recently added to the Japanese tech tree, the Leclerc does feel a little bit sluggish when trying to manoeuvre. While holding W, as well as A or D, the tank feels far more like a Challenger 2 than a T80 BVM. The top speed is pretty good however, with 72 km per hour going forwards and 38 km per hour in reverse. Like many of the main battle tanks in game, it does have very good top speeds, making the tank very mobile, but it suffers in its manoeuvrability. While this isn't really an issue in terms of fighting on the battlefield, you just don't really feel as nimble as other main battle tanks. Overall though, the Leclerc S21 is pretty fun to drive, but nowhere near as zippy as one of the larger gas turbine driven tanks in War Thunder, like the Abrams or the T80s. In terms of armour and survivability, the Leclerc S1 has pretty good armour, but rather poor survivability. To start with, we have a crew of 3 men, with a driver in the hull and a gunner and commander located in the turret. While you could say that the crew are pretty socially distanced, giving them a pretty good chance to dodge incoming spalling, you only have to lose 2 of your crew members before the tank is fully knocked out. Other main battle tanks with 4 crew members are a little bit more survivable because of that. We then also have a large ammunition reserve next to the driver in the hull of the vehicle. However, this can be negated if you take 23 rounds of ammunition and no more. Taking 23 rounds of ammunition, you'll have 1 round stored in the gun and 22 in the blowout panels in the back of the turret. They should protect your crew from an ammo detonation, but your ammunition is still vulnerable and can be set on fire. In terms of armour, your gun breech, which is a large squirt, is very vulnerable, as well as pretty much the whole of the upper frontal glacis. The only parts of this tank which you could consider armoured are the lower frontal plate and the sides of the turret cheeks. Both the hull and turret does have composite armour schemes, giving you pretty good protection against high explosive anti-tank warheads. However, with the exception of the lower frontal plate, as well as the turret cheeks, they offer minimal protection against APF SDS rounds. While the Leclerc may have been a tank in the old days of War Thunder, when the best ammunition could only penetrate 470mm of armour, in the age of the Leopard 2A6 and the T80 BVM, the Leclerc S21 may as well be as vulnerable as the Type 90s. Like all the other Leclerc series, this tank is armed with the 120mm GIAT CN120-26 F1 cannon. Quite a mouthful, but this gun does merit some respect. To start with, it has an auto-loading system with a reload rate of 6 seconds, as well as a first stage ammunition rack of 22 rounds, which we covered in the last segment. Being a modern main battle tank, it also has a gun stabilizer in both the horizontal and vertical planes. It also has the NATO standard 20 degrees of gun elevation, but a slightly below average 8 degrees of gun depression. This will minimally affect your ability to go hull down in the vehicle, but it shouldn't interfere too much. The gun also has a laser rangefinder, as well as thermal imaging for the gunner, as well as a commander's independent thermal viewer, something which the other Leclerc variants were lacking. These are second generation thermal imaging, and gives you pretty good situational awareness on the battlefield. The tank also has pretty good optics, with a standard 2.5x zoom and an optional 10x zoom. In my opinion, allowing you to target tanks effectively at both short and long range. We now come on to the ammunition, and being a French tank, you're of course going to suffer. The stock shell is a high explosive anti-tank fin stabilised round, moving at 1100 meters per second. It has a chemical warhead containing 2.15 kilos of TNT, allowing it to penetrate 480mm of flat armour and 240mm of armour angled at 60 degrees. The large TNT warhead does give it pretty good post-penetration damage, but I'd much rather use our next shell, and the shell after it, both of which are armour-piercing fin stabilising discarding sable rounds. The first round is the G1. This travels much faster at 1780 meters per second and can penetrate 410mm of flat armour at 1000 meters, and at the same distance, but against armour angled at 60 degrees, it still has a very respectable 237mm of penetration. Things improve again with the F1 round. It travels at 10 meters per second faster. This isn't much, but every little helps. At a range of 1000 meters and against flat armour, you can penetrate 557mm of armour. And against metal angled at 60 degrees, it's much better than the G1 round, being able to penetrate 322mm of armour. This is your upgraded APF SDS round, and it's obviously the one that you should use, although you may want to take a few high explosive anti-tank rounds for dealing with light tanks. That's it for the main gun of the Leclerc S21, but you do have 14 smoke shells, as well as a coaxially mounted 12.7mm machine gun. Overall, the firepower of the Leclerc S21 is very good. That autoloader does give it an immense amount of firepower. While it's not as good as the Type 10 with its 4-second autoloader, this French behemoth still spits fire. To conclude, the major advances of the Leclerc S21 are not really seen in game. In real life, this model of the tank had new engine characteristics, basically gave it better power output and stuff like that. While we do see the commander's thermal, it also had a new IFF system, or Identify Friend or Foe, which isn't a system that is currently in War Thunder. While the current model of the Leclerc tank is impressive in real life, in War Thunder, it's kind of just more of the same as the other Leclerc variants. But that is by no means a bad thing. If you are a major French player, or you do enjoy the Leclerc series of tanks, then you are going to like this variant of it. But it doesn't really add anything new or sexy. It's kind of like the Challenger 2s that are in the game. It's basically just the same variant added over again, with a slight cosmetic difference, but no real noticeable change in gameplay. Considering the French tech tree is pretty skinny at the minute, you may as well grind out the Leclerc S21. It's a great tank, it'll add another backup Leclerc to your lineup, and you don't really have another option, as there are only currently 3 11.0 tanks in the game. The Leclerc S21 is one of those tanks. So if you want a full lineup at the top tier in the French tech tree, then you're pretty much forced to play this vehicle. Alright lads, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel. You can also leave a like and a comment, which again, also boosts me in the algorithm, helping my channel to grow. You can also follow me on Twitter as well as Twitch, and if you're a huge fan of the channel, you can become a member of the YouTube channel, which will give you a unique icon next to your comment, in both comments under videos and on YouTube live streams. Once again, thank you very much for watching this far into the video lads, and I'll see you in the next one.